Hello everyone, back to today's second video. So we're doing the second season model roundup of winter 2017-18 for today's second video. We're going to get 12 long-range models together and see what they are all showing for only the second time this season. See what they're showing for the winter of 2017-18. We did the first season model roundup last month in September. The third and final season model roundup will be issued next month at the end of November. And then on the 3rd of December, we are going to put together the long-range models with the winter updates. We're up to update 8 this weekend. Tomorrow, I'll talk about that in a second. So we're going to put the scene models with the winter updates, and on the 3rd of December we're going to create the GWV.com winter 2017-18 forecast. So all of these updates are building up to the eventual forecast that will be released on the first Sunday of December, which will be Sunday the 3rd of December. So very important update coming up today. This has been brought forward from Sunday to Saturday because I brought forward the 8th winter update. So normally at this point we would have a week off with the winter updates, and the 8th winter update will be next week. But because we've got so much to discuss this season with the winter updates, I just thought we might not be able to get everything in, really, by the end of November. We might still be really struggling to try and fit everything in that we have to talk about this season. So I thought we haven't really got time this year to have a week off with the winter updates. So that's the reason the 8th update has been brought forward by a week. So there's now going to be 12 winter updates before we get to the winter forecast to go along with the free seasonal model roundup. So I'll get on with the seasonal model roundup for you in a second. Just to say, this will be quite a longish video, so if you can't watch it all in one go, don't worry, you'll be able to come back and watch it whenever you want on the winter updates page. This video will be placed on the winter updates page later on today, and there'll be a written report that goes with it as well. Just say weekend forecast was released earlier than normal this Saturday morning, so it's the video is here on the homepage. Just scroll down the page a little bit and it's above Snowdesk. There's also the written version, and you can get to that from the buttons at the top of the page. Right, I think better get on with the second seasonal roundup for winter of 2017 and 2018. We're going to begin with the models that just cover the early winter period. The first 3 models are only covering the early winter period from November through to January. We begin with the APEC model. This is the latest from APEC, which is a collaboration of various Met agencies, but I think the South Korean Met Agency is actually the primary driver for this one. So 500 millibar height anomaly for November to January 2017-18 shows above average heights to our south and southeast, below average heights up to the north, and we bring the jet stream through like that. So it looks like a mild zonal looking signal for the winter from APEC. As is typically the case with this model, it's going for warmer than average temperatures, mild than average temperatures for the UK and much of Europe as well. This early winter period, November to January, and precipitation looking like this. It's coming out wetter than average in the early winter. So a mild, wet, zonal November to January being seen by APEC. The next model to look at is the Russian model. Again, this is just covering early winter, November to January. This is probability for temperature. This is a little bit more interesting because, see this blue area just here, that's a strong probability of below normal temperatures in the northern part of the Atlantic Ocean. It's going for a high probability of above average temperatures to the north of the British Isles, but then the UK and most of Europe actually coming out with average or near normal temperatures, which for this model is quite unusual. Normally this model is going warmer than average, so that is a little bit colder than you would normally expect from the Russian model for this early winter period. It isn't going for a cold winter, but it is cooler, colder than it normally would be in terms of its temperature probability forecast. For precipitation anomalies or probabilities from November to January, it's going for wet on average to our north and a bit dry on average to our south. So that would imply a fairly zonal type setup perhaps for this early winter period, which you would have thought would be pretty mild. So I'm not sure why its temperature probability is so cool, but we can only say what we see, and it is looking like it's a little bit cooler in terms of its temperature probability for this early winter period, albeit it's not going for a cold early winter. The third and final model that just covers this November to January period is the JMA, the Japanese Meteorological Agency. So this one, we actually did the update for the JMA 3 monthly a couple of weeks ago, of course, and we sort of isolated this one out, looked at it in its own terms on a month-by-month basis. I haven't got time to do that with this seasonal round because we've got so many other models to get through. What I can say is that November and December were generally set up to be quite mildish and settled. Did look rather more interesting though for January. Do check out that update if you would like to have a look at this model more in depth than these 3 monthly anomalies. So this is the 500 millibar height anomaly for the November to January period, 3 months combined, and it looks pretty zonal. We've got above average heights out to our west, extending through the Atlantic like that, and probably bring the jet stream through in that sort of fashion. So temperature anomalies from November to January, they're coming out a little bit on the milder than average side, and in terms of precipitation anomalies, it's looking wetter than average, so a mildish and quite wet early winter being seen by the JMA. The mean wind direction always a job to make these black arrows out, but generally coming from a west to northwesterly type direction with the mean wind flow in that sort of a situation. So they're the first 3 models covering November to January. Everything else you see in this update is going to cover the full winter, December through to February period. So we'll have a look at the ECMWF to start off with the full winter models. This is mean sea level pressure anomaly from the ECMWF for the winter of 2017-18. Going for above average pressure to be around the northwest of Europe, potentially centred just to the south of Greenland. Otherwise, not much else to be seen. Is some low pressure over western parts of Russia. You would have thought with that probably doing something a bit like that with the flow and with the jet stream. So you will think that that is a signal for slightly cooler conditions for the winter. Remember, this is just our interpretation of the model, by the way. We can't show you the ECM directly, so this is just our interpretation of what the ECMWF is forecasting for this winter. Now, despite that mean sea level pressure anomaly, which you will think might be hinting at a rather coolish winter, the temperature anomalies from the model are going for most of Europe very mild, very much on the mild of an average side for the winter with the ECM seasonal model. In terms of precipitation anomalies this winter, weak signals, but overall the northwest of Europe probably signalled to be, if anything, a bit on the drier than average side. So a mild and dry winter being seen at the moment by the ECMWF. We'll have a look at the Americas next, starting with Brazil. So this is the 500 millibar height anomaly for the full winter, December to February period, from the Brazilian model. Now remember, this one always does things the other way around compared to a normal 500 millibar height anomaly. So on these charts, yellow, orange and red are extrapolating to below average heights, which is low pressure, and blues extrapolating to above average heights, which is high pressure. On any other height anomaly, it's the other way around. I think they do it to try and catch me out. So we have a look at the 500 millibar height anomaly, which is placing and trough of low pressure over the UK and over western parts of Europe as well. We have above average heights out in the Atlantic there, looking like they're pushed back towards Bermuda. And up here, it's job to make it out, but it does look as though there could be some above average heights to our north, potentially over Greenland, and maybe going even further north than that. So put it all together, I think the Brazilian model could be quite interesting. It might be placing us on the cold side of the jet stream, with the jet doing something a little bit like that. And if this is blocking what we have up here, we might be entrenching some quite cold air into that trough. So joining the Russian model, I think the Brazilian, just reading between the lines here, is a little bit more interesting. Now, the temperature anomaly, however, is coming out milder than average, which I wouldn't be overly concerned about that if you want something colder this winter. The reason being, these are also climate models, so they do very often overcook the temperatures a little bit. So it is also going for slightly milder than average winter. For precipitation, it's going rather wet for this winter, with above average precipitation being signalled for the northwest of Europe overall. But on the height anomaly, I do think that is quite an interesting anomaly. That's quite a unusual trough to be centering itself over the UK, and with this up here and the high pressure pushed out down there, I do think we could be finding ourselves on the colder side of jet at times anyway. With that one, we go much further north and we go up to Canada. Have a look at the CAN6 model next from the website tropicaltidbits.com. You find a link to Tropical Tidbits on the links page. So this is mean sea level pressure anomalies for the winter of 2017-18. And CAN6 has below average pressure over and to the north of the British Isles, above average pressure in the Atlantic. We do something like that with the flow and with the jet stream as well. That is a little bit of a mid-Atlantic ridge that we've got going on there in the central part of the Atlantic Ocean, but it isn't tying in to any sort of blocking up to our north. Nevertheless, we might set up the flow for jet stream on a northwest-southeast trajectory with that kind of setup. Temperature anomalies for the winter with CAN6 are coming out slightly milder than average in terms of precipitation anomalies with CAN6. So if anything, we're slightly on the wetter than average side, but it's not a big deviation, close to average, maybe hinting at being slightly wetter than average with the CAN6 model. Patal-Peng next. These are analogues based on sea surface temperature anomalies. Patal-Peng took over from Hugo van der Doel at the start of the year, but it's the same sort of methodology. Patal is looking at the sea surface temperature anomalies of the ocean in any given month, in this case in September 2017. And then using those sea surface temperature anomalies compares back to past years with similar SST profile and creates an analog-based forecast going forwards. So what we see with this one is that Patal is forecasting rather a zonal winter, really, below average pressure centering around Iceland, above average pressure through the central part of the Atlantic, through the Azores, bringing the jet stream through like that. There's no northern blocking to be seen. We also have some above average pressure here across Central Europe, so it doesn't get more zonal and westerly than that. Consequently, the temperature anomaly from Patal-Peng is coming out warmer than average, as it is through most parts of Europe as well. A very significantly warmer than average winter being seen by Patal-Peng for winter of 2017-18. Temperature anomalies are coming out wetter than average to our north, drier than average to our south. I think we can say the UK is basically on the wetter than average side because it's a very zonal signal that Patal-Peng is indicating there. Moving over to NASA. This is the experimental NASA model. This is 500 millibar height anomalies for the winter of 2017-18. This one looks a bit different again. So we have above average heights centering around the UK and also going over to our east as well, which, well, it's bringing up probably southeasterly winds. It would be a dry signal for this winter. Quite what the temperatures would be doing, that's a little bit harder to decipher. Now, the model is forecasting temperatures again to be very significantly warmer than average through this winter, and quite why the temperature anomaly is so warm when we've got above average heights over and to the northeast of the UK. I'm not really sure about that. And in terms of the precipitation anomaly from a NASA model, that is coming out drier than average. So we don't really have a clear signal here. Some of these models are looking sort of zonal, wet, and mild. Some of the models are looking much more anticyclonic and drier. They do all still seem to be going warmer than average, but that could be the various biases within the model. I have to say, if we came out with a 500 millibar height anomaly for this winter like that, I struggle to see why it would be so significantly milder than average, really, other than maybe we're pulling up the air from sort of a southerly direction like that, but we could just as easily be bringing the air in from an east or southeasterly type direction. At the very least, you would think there'd be a fair amount of frost, so you wouldn't expect it to be, I mean, it wouldn't be expected to be exceptionally mild with that, because we are not seeing a zonal Atlantic-driven signal. So quite interesting with the height anomalies, but the temperature anomaly is still going out milder than average. Precipitation on the dry and average side. Finally, for the Americas, we've got NOAA's very own model, CFS V2. I know how much you all love this one. This is 700 millibar height anomaly. And we have below average heights to our north and northwest, above average heights to our south and southwest. And yes, we bring the jet stream through like that. So this one is zonal all the way. Temperature anomalies, therefore, look at this for the winter 2017-18. All parts of Europe are coming out warmer than average, from Iceland, Ireland, Portugal in the west to Russia in the east, and all points in between coming out very significantly milder than average. CFS-V2, same old, same old. In terms of precipitation anomalies, generally wetter than average. And you can see the north-south split across the continent, so southern Europe is coming out drier than average, on the dry and average side, with high pressure all through here. Northern Europe is coming out on the wetter than average side, British Isles is included, with the low pressure up here. The jet stream is somewhere in between, coming through rather like that, or maybe actually it would be a bit further north, probably coming through a bit like that, which actually places most of Europe on the warm side of the jet stream. Mild, wet, windy and zonal from CFS-V2. Jamstack next, so we're drawing towards the close with this second winter 17-18 update. So Jamstack comes up next. This one's flipped from last month. You remember last month it was predicting a cooler than average winter. As often happens with Jamstack, we're getting closer to the time frame and it's going warm. So now the model is going for a milder than average winter for the UK and for much of Northern Europe as well. Precipitation anomalies, very similar to CFS-V2 really. It's looking drier than average to the south of the country, wetter than average to the north, and we're presumably bringing in west-southwesterly winds with jet stream like that. A mild Atlantic-driven signal from Jamstack. Beijing Climate Centre next. Now, this one's a little bit more interesting. We isolated this one out as well a few weeks back. So this is the 200 millibar height anomaly for the winter of 2017-18. And this one is different to anything that we've seen so far. It's going for above average heights up to our north and also extending over here to Scandinavia. Below average heights to the south, which you will think is implying, at the very least, the chance of easterly winds. That is by far the most interesting model we've seen in this update from a cold point of view. That really does look like it could be setting up quite a cold pattern. The temperature anomaly is actually nothing to get excited about, coming out close to average, although many parts of Europe actually are average to perhaps slightly on the cooler than average side. Certainly in terms of temperature anomalies, this is one of the cooler models, even if it's not doing anything particularly cold. It is one of the cooler models, along with the Russian model that we've seen so far. Most of the other models look like they are very set up for mild conditions, mild temperatures this winter. This one, the Beijing Climate Centre, along with the Russian, is hinting at the very least temperatures cooler than most of the models are showing, even if they're not cooler than average. Precipitation anomalies for the Beijing Climate Centre for the winter of 2017-18. Overall on the drier than average side across the UK and much of Central and Northern Europe as well. That's got a little bit wrong, so let's see if we can get rid of that. And then we'll try and get rid of that. I'll have to get rid of that as well. And we'll persevere and try to get to our very last model, which is the UK Met Office GWV 5. This is the mean sea level pressure anomaly for the winter of 2017-18 from our last model in this second season model roundup. And this one is going unsettled, and it's doing it in style big time. Look at those blue colours there across the north of the UK and through the UK as well. Very, very strong jet stream will be coming through with this through the UK like that. It's just a really, really unsettled signal that we see there from that mean sea level pressure anomaly. Actually, I can't remember, I've been looking at this model for a very long time, and I can't remember such an intensely unsettled signal in terms of the mean sea level pressure anomaly. If that's right, we really are in for it in terms of very stormy and wet weather this winter. Temperature anomalies are coming out milder than average, quite significantly and substantially so, and it's not a surprise because it's a really strong zonal signal that will be pushing these west-southwesterlies right the way into Russia. So it is coming out with a milder than average winter, substantially so, and obviously with such a intensely unsettled mean sea level pressure anomaly, it's also coming out with a very, very wet winter as well, significantly wetter than average across the UK and much of Northern Europe. So overall, this second season model roundup is a continuation of the first season model roundup with a strong signal, I think overall a strong signal for a mild, wet, unsettled, zonal, westerly, possibly at times stormy winter, particularly so if the UK Met Office model is right. However, having said that, more models in this update are looking anticyclonic, so there's a little bit more of a split actually between the two models. Rather than getting closer to winter and the signal becoming clearer, we've actually got closer to winter and the signal has become a little bit weaker, I think, overall. So we have got a few models here that are going for a more anticyclonic winter. None of them are really signalling anything cold, although the Beijing Climate Centre and I think the Russian model are closer to doing something cold, but they don't actually have cold and average temperature anomalies. I'm just sort of suggesting that from the pressure that they're going for. Then there's the UK Met, the ECWF, which is at odds with the UK Met. That's quite unusual. ECWF is going for a dry winter, anticyclonic winter, albeit quite a mild one. So it is a mixed bag, but I think if we was to average all these models out, we probably do still have overall a signal for mild, wet, potentially stormy conditions this winter, with the caveat that there are a few exceptions, and particularly the Beijing Climate Centre is doing something that could be quite significantly colder. And that's it for the second season model roundup for winter of 2017-18. As I say, this video will be placed on the winter updates page later on today with a written report, so you can come back and have a look at the video whenever you want if you'd like to do that, and also read the written post. And tomorrow, of course, we've got the 8th winter 2017-18 update. So that's going to be really interesting. We've brought it forward by a week. There'll be loads of information crammed in to that one. So that'll be from 10 a.m. in the morning. We'll kick off again with the 8th winter update. Alright, at 25 minutes, that's all for now. Thanks for watching.